a very gentle welcome to ZzzMovies. It's so lovely to have you here, settling in for the night. Before we begin our story, I'd love to know, where are you listening from tonight? You can leave a comment below if you feel like it. Maybe someone else is listening from the same city, or a town you once knew. It's a nice thought, isn't it? All of us, finding a little pocket of peace together, under the same moon. Now, find a comfortable spot. Let your shoulders relax. Let your breath soften and deepen. There's nothing else you need to do. We're going to step into a long, warm summer, somewhere in Italy. The air is sweet with the scent of apricots and pine, and the days stretch on forever. Just close your eyes and let the story begin. You can hear the sound of a car approaching, a distant crunch of tires on the dusty gravel road that winds its way to the villa. You are barefoot, wearing only your bathing suit, and the cool tile of the floor is a welcome relief from the day's heat. The air in the room is thick with the memory of the afternoon, a lazy warmth that clings to the furniture and the old wooden door that separates this space from the next. For 17 years, this has been your room, but today, you are in the process of moving your things, your books, your clothes, your life, into the smaller adjacent room, a space that feels more like a large wardrobe than a proper bedroom. Marzia is here, lying on the bed you are about to surrender. Her presence is a quiet comfort, a familiar echo in the shifting landscape of your home. You can still feel the faint impression of where you both lay together, a silent testament to a shared, lazy afternoon. The sound of the car grows louder, and you move to the window, your bare feet silent on the floor. Below, a cloud of dust billows up as the vehicle pulls to a stop before the main entrance. A young man steps out. He's wearing a bright blue, billowy shirt, the collar wide open, and dark sunglasses that hide his eyes. This must be him. Oliver, the summer guest, the annual scholar your father takes on for 6 weeks. Ankaisi, the house's quiet and capable handyman, follows him out of the car. You watch them for a moment, this new person who is about to inhabit your space, and a single phrase, sharp and unwelcome, forms in your mind. You murmur it under your breath. In French, a private declaration. L'usurpateur. The usurper. Marzia, hearing you, rises from the bed and comes to stand beside you at the window, her curiosity piqued. Down below, your parents emerge from the villa. Your father, a distinguished and vigorous man in his 50s, and your mother, Anella, graceful and warm in her mid-40s, greet the newcomer. Their voices drift up, a welcoming murmur. Then, you hear your mother's voice, clear and questioning, in Italian. Dove Elio? Where's Elio? A soft sigh escapes you. It's time. Il faut que je descende, you say to Marcia, your voice resigned. I'd better go down. You leave the room, the scent of summer dust and Marcia's light, perfume lingering in the air. The old staircase creaks softly under your feet as you descend. At the bottom, you see him again, Oliver, being led by your father toward the study. His luggage, a heavy-looking suitcase and a worn backpack, sits abandoned on the floor, a temporary monument to his arrival. Your mother spots you approaching and gestures towards them, her expression kind but expectant. Aiuta Oliver a portare le sue cose in camera tua, she says, her Italian flowing like music. Help bring Oliver's things up to your room. Of course. Your room, which is now his. You move towards the study to properly meet the man who has displaced you. You find him inside, sitting on the sofa, a glass of water in his hand. Even in the sweltering heat of the Italian afternoon, wilting from his journey, there is an elegance about him, an iconic stillness. He seems almost like a figure from a film, perfectly composed. Your father makes the formal introduction, and you shake hands. His grip is firm, his expression non-committal. "I'm Elio," you offer. He simply replies, "Hi." There's a cool distance in his voice that you can't quite decipher. Together, you head back to the staircase to retrieve his things. You instinctively lunge for the heavy suitcase, a silent offering of hospitality, while he takes the lighter backpack. As you begin the climb, you clarify the new arrangement. "My room is now your room," you tell him, the words feeling strange on your tongue. "I'll be next door." Halfway up the stairs, you meet Marja coming down. There's a brief, slightly awkward flurry of introductions. You can feel Oliver's curiosity as his gaze lingers on her, and you notice her looking back at him as he continues up the stairs. It's a small, fleeting moment, but it hangs in the air between you. You finally reach the bedroom, his bedroom, and he drops his backpack, immediately crashing onto the bed with a sigh of pure exhaustion. You place the heavy suitcase on the floor beside it. The room already feels different with him in it, his presence filling the space that was once solely yours. "We're sharing the bathroom," you explain, gesturing towards the connecting door. "It's my only way out." But he doesn't seem to be listening. His eyes are closed, his breathing already deep and even. He has fallen asleep, just like that, surrendering completely to his fatigue. You stand there for a moment, watching him, this stranger in your bed. Quietly, you walk out, closing the ruined wooden door that separates your small, refurbished closet of a room from his, sealing yourself off with the quiet click of the latch. Later, as dusk begins to bleed across the sky, painting the garden, in shades of soft purple and gold, the world outside your window grows quiet. The day's oppressive heat gives way to a gentle evening breeze that rustles through the leaves of the fruit trees. You can see the orchard from here, the peaches, and apricots and cherries hanging like jewels in the dappled light. You imagine Ankaisi among them, his gnarled fingers carefully selecting the ripest fruit, placing them one by one into a basket. Inside your new, smaller room, you are at your desk, transcribing music. A Walkman sits beside your desk lamp, softly, playing a cassette, the notes a private soundtrack to your thoughts. Suddenly, the gentle ringing of a bell cuts through the music. It's Mafalda calling everyone to dinner. You hear her ring at once, then again, a little more insistent this time. You pause your work, the melody still echoing in your head. You need to wake the usurper. You walk through the shared bathroom, the door to his room standing open. He is still asleep, a still figure in the dimming light of the sunset that filters through the window. "We're being called to dinner," you say softly, but there is no response. You hesitate, then step into his room. It feels like a transgression, entering this space while he is so vulnerable. You reach for a book on his bookshelf, a casual gesture to mask your unease, but your fingers fumble and the book slips, falling to the floor with a sharp, startling clatter. Oliver is instantly awake, jolted from his sleep. He looks up, his eyes unfocused, trying to place where he is. You feel a flush of embarrassment. "We're being called to dinner," you repeat, your voice strained. He looks at you from his pillow, his gaze still clouded with sleep. "Later," he murmurs, his voice thick. "I'll have to pass." He pauses for a beat. "Can you make my excuses to your mother?" You nod, picking up the book you dropped and backing out of the room. As you reach the door, he speaks again, his voice a low rumble. "So this is usually your room?" You nod again, your hand on the doorknob. "Thanks, buddy," he says, and with that, he turns over, pulling the covers closer, and drifts back to sleep. You close the door, plunging the room into near darkness, the single word, "later," echoing in the sudden silence. The next morning, the house is filled with the familiar sounds of breakfast. The clinking of cutlery, the murmur of your parents' voices, the smell of fresh coffee. You are already at the table in the garden when Oliver finally appears, descending the stairs and looking slightly lost. He follows the sound of your family's voices and emerges into the sunlight, joining you all at the table. You watch him as he sits down, trying not to stare, but you can't help but notice his attempt to crack a soft-boiled egg. He taps it tentatively, piercing only a tiny fragment of the shell. You, on the other hand, crack yours with an expert, practiced motion. He sees this, and a flicker of something, frustration perhaps, crosses his face before he pushes his own egg away, busying himself with his coffee instead. Mafalda, ever observant, approaches him. "Lasci fare a me, signore," she says gently, taking his egg and neatly slicing the top off before returning to the kitchen. "Did you recover from your trip, Caro?" your mother asks, her voice warm. "Big time," he replies, his American slang sounding slightly out of place in the idyllic Italian morning. You are spreading honey on a piece of bread, focusing on the simple task to avoid looking at him. But then you lift your head and the words come out, louder than you intended. "I can show you around." He seems pleased by the offer. "Good," he says. "Are we far from the town? I need to open a bank account." This piques your parents' interest. Your father smiles. "None of our residents has ever had a local bank account." You turn in your seat to get a better look at Oliver, this unusual guest. "Should I take him to Montadine?" you ask your father. "I think they're closed for summer vacation. Try Crema," he suggests. Oliver's gaze drifts towards the orchard. "Is that your orchard?" he asks. Your father lists the fruits with pride. Pesca, ciliage, albicoque. Peaches, cherries, apricots. Pomegranate, your mother adds. Mafalda returns with a pitcher of fresh apricot juice and fills Oliver's glass. He takes a sip, then downs the entire glass with an enthusiastic gulp. As he tips his head back, you find yourself staring at his throat, at the way he swallows the juice, and you notice for the first time a small silver Star of David hanging from a chain around his neck. He smacks his lips in appreciation and moves on to his second egg, cracking it with newfound confidence. Mafalda, anticipating his appetite, brings him a third. "Have another egg," your mother insists. He shakes his head, a small smile playing on his lips. "I know myself," he says. "If I have 3, I'll have a 4th and more." The simple statement hangs in the air. I know myself. You have never heard someone so young speak with such certainty. It is, in its own way, intimidating. You lower your eyes, suddenly feeling very young, very unsure of yourself. Later, you find yourself in your father's study, surrounded by the organized chaos of his correspondence. He's trying to devise a new filing system, and stacks of letters and open boxes litter the room. Oliver is there, helping him sort through the papers, and you are there too, a quiet observer. Your father makes a joke about how his guest from the previous summer was much better at organizing. It's a familiar routine. The summer guest, here for 6 weeks to revise a manuscript, helps your father with his paperwork for an hour or so each day in exchange for room and board. Your mother enters, carrying a tray with another pitcher of the sweet apricot juice. She pours glasses for everyone. Oliver, once again, downs his in a single gulp, smacking his lips with an appreciative "ah." Your mother pats his shoulder, amused and approving. You look at your father, a sense of weary familiarity washing over you. You know exactly what's coming next. The word apricot, he begins, his voice taking on the familiar cadence of a lecture, comes from the Arabic. It's like algebra, alchemy, and alcohol. He explains how the word derives from the Arabic noun combined with the article li. He pauses, warming to his subject. It's amazing that today in Israel and many Arab countries the fruit is referred to by a totally different name, mishmish. Your mother chimes in. When we visited Persia, they called it Zardulu. Your father shrugs, a gesture that says the world of etymology is full of mysteries. Through all of this, you notice Oliver has been listening intently, his expression, thoughtful. And then he speaks. I beg to differ. A hush falls over the room. Your father looks surprised. The word is not actually an Arabic word, Oliver states calmly. You and your mother exchange a look, intrigued. It's a long story, Oliver continues, a quick, amused glance in your direction. So, bear with me, Pro. Many Latin words are derived from the Greek. In the case of apricot, however, it's the other way around. He explains that the Latin word was praecoquum, meaning to ripen early, as in precocious. Your mother is clearly charmed by his confidence and knowledge. He goes on, explaining how the Byzantines borrowed the Latin word, which became praecocia, and how the Arabs must have inherited it from there as albark. There is a moment of stunned silence when he finishes. He adds with a touch of playful modesty, Courtesy Philology 101. Your father, under his breath but loud enough for everyone to hear, concedes, He's right. Unable to resist, your mother reaches out and playfully ruffles Oliver's hair, laughing. And you begin to applaud. He does it every year, you say, a mixture of admiration and gentle mockery in your voice. Every year, your mother confirms. Your father, recovering his composure, adds, with a smile, I was testing you. The sun is already high and hot as you lead the way on your bicycles, the road to Crema stretching out before you. The air is thick and still, and the steady rhythm of pedaling is the only sound between you. In the town square, you sit at a small cafe with wrought iron tables and chairs, the hum of the quiet piazza a backdrop to your shared silence. Oliver studies the bank application forms he's acquired, then folds them neatly and places them in his knapsack. He looks around the nearly empty square, his eyes hidden behind his dark sunglasses. What does one do around here? He asks. The question is simple, but it feels vast. Nothing, you reply honestly. Wait for summer to end. What do you do in the winter then? He presses, a hint of amusement in his tone. Don't tell me. Wait. For summer, right? You explain that your family only comes for Christmas and other holidays. The mention of Christmas seems to catch his attention. You elaborate. We are Jewish, English, American, Italian, French, somewhat atypical. You add, with a touch of irony, besides my family, you are probably the only other Jew who has set foot in this town. He nods, a flicker of understanding in his expression. I am from a small town in New England. I know what it's like to be the odd Jew out. He pauses, then asks again, And what else do you do here in summer, besides this? A small smile touches your lips, but you say nothing. You both share a quiet laugh. What do you do? He insists gently. Transcribe music. You list. Read books. Swim at the river. Go out at night. He takes this in, his face unreadable behind the dark lenses. Then, just as quickly as the conversation started, it's over. He gathers his things, a silent signal that your time together is done. You walk back to your bikes in silence. He seems a million miles away. As you swing your leg over your bike, you lose your balance for a moment, and his arm shoots out, his hand steadying you by the shoulder. The touch is brief, functional, but it sends a strange jolt through you. He then speeds off down the road, calling back his now familiar, abrupt farewell. Later, he leaves you there, alone in the sun-drenched square, the warmth of his hand still lingering on your shoulder. Back at the villa, you settle at a table in the shade, your guitar resting in your lap. The notes you play are soft, weaving through the sleepy afternoon air. From your vantage point, you can see Oliver ride up on his bike and dismount, his movements fluid and easy. He passes Ankaisi, who is tending to some small plants with a ball of twine. Oliver stops, and you watch as he strikes up a conversation with the handyman, his Italian surprisingly confident. You are too far away to hear their words, something about tomatoes and not giving them too much water. But you see the easy camaraderie between them. A short while later, Oliver has spread a towel on the grass nearby. He's reading a book. Heraclitus, you notice, wearing a green bathing suit and a straw hat. His belongings are scattered around him. Sun lotion, a notepad, his espadrilles. There is a constant, gentle flow of people at the villa, friends, relatives, acquaintances like Marja, creating a sense of a place that is always alive, always moving. As you focus on the fingerboard of your guitar, you feel his gaze on you. He has lowered his book and is staring, his expression unreadable. You lift your head, a silent question in your eyes, hoping for some sign of approval, some indication that he likes what he's hearing. But he just looks back at you, almost coldly, without a flicker of emotion. A knot of unease tightens in your stomach. You falter, the music breaking off for a moment before you force yourself to look down and continue playing. He must have sensed your discomfort, because he gets up and walks over to where you are sitting. You try to appear non-committal, to hide the hurt his cold stare inflicted. In the pause, he asks about the piece you were playing. Was it yours? Did he know it? It sounded like... You pluck a few notes. This? Or that? He brushes your questions aside. Just play it again. I thought you didn't like it, you say, the words coming out before you can stop them. Hated it. Hated it? He repeats, a hint of surprise in his voice. What gave you that idea? Just play it, will you? You hesitate. The same one? The same one. He stands over you, tall and half-naked, an intimidating presence. The weight of his expectation is too much. You get up abruptly and walk into the house, leaving him standing in the garden. You move to the piano in the living room. The cool ivory of the keys a familiar comfort under your fingertips. You begin to play the piece again, and the music sounds entirely different now, fuller and more resonant than it did on the guitar. Oliver leans against the doorway, looking in, his silhouette framed by the afternoon light. You changed it, he says, his voice cutting through the melody. What did you do to it? Is it Bach? You don't stop playing. I just played it the way Liszt would have played it if he'd jimmied around with it. Just play it again, please. He insists. So you do, but not the same way. You can't resist. A new variation flows from your fingers. He listens, a small frown forming on his face. I can't believe you changed it again. Not by much, you reply, a hint of defiance in your tone. That's how Busoni would have played it if he'd altered Liszt's version. He sounds exasperated now. Can't you just play the Bach the way Bach wrote it? Bach never wrote it for guitar, you retort. In fact, we're not even sure it's Bach at all. He turns away with a frustrated sigh. Forget I asked. Okay, you say quickly, not wanting him to leave. No need to get so worked up. You give in. You begin to play the piece in its original, unadorned form. The pure, clean notes of Bach fill the room. Oliver, who had started to walk away, turns back, drawn by the music. You speak softly, your voice barely a whisper over the melody. It's young Bach, you explain. He dedicated it to his brother. And as you play, you pour all of your confused feelings into the music. Each note, a carefully crafted offering. You play it beautifully, as if you are sending it to him, and only him, as a gift. Later, in the quiet of your room, you are writing in your diary. The wind billows the curtains, carrying the scent of the garden inside. You pause, leaving the diary open on your bed, and go into the shared bathroom, closing the door behind you. The camera of your memory zooms in on the open page, the ink still fresh. The words read, "I was too harsh when I told him I thought he hated Bach." A gust of wind rustles the pages, turning them, before settling on a new entry. Your handwriting reveals a deeper truth. What I wanted to say was that I thought he hated me. On another sun-drenched day, you find yourself walking down a street in town with Oliver. He suddenly ducks into a small cafe, and you follow him inside. The air is thick with the smell of coffee and cigarette smoke. A few men are gathered at tables, engrossed in a game of cards. It's a lively, local spot, a world away from the quiet intellectualism of the villa. Some of the men look up as Oliver enters and give him a nod of recognition. A new game is starting, and he is invited to join. He pulls up a chair and sits down, instantly at ease. "How did you know about this place?" you ask, surprised by his familiarity with this hidden corner of the town. He just winks in response. You pull up a chair to watch, feeling like an outsider, looking in. Oliver is immediately accepted by the other players, treated as an equal. Despite being a guest at the villa of one of the area's wealthiest men, he has a natural, easy way with people, a common touch that you can't help but admire. You are quickly forgotten as he becomes absorbed in the game. Every now and then, you provide a translation for a phrase spoken in the local dialect, and he replies with a casual, "Thanks, buddy," before turning his attention back to his cards. The afternoon fades into a lazy game of volleyball on the lawn in front of the villa. A makeshift court has been set up, and Oliver is playing with Chiara, Marja's older sister, and another boy. You are sitting on the sidelines with Marja and another friend, Maria. All eyes, it seems, are on the glamorous American who has so unexpectedly landed in your midst. Marja and Maria pepper you with questions about him. "He's certainly a big improvement from last year, do you remember?" Marja asks in Italian, and you both laugh at the memory of the previous summer's guest. "Oliver is a Latin blonde scholar cowboy," Maria exclaims, and you can only roll your eyes in agreement. Maria then looks between you and Marja, a teasing glint in her eye. "Well, that sucks for you guys. Another summer in the lavanderia." The lavanderia, the laundry room, is your new cramped bedroom. Marja playfully punches Maria's shoulder. You feel a familiar sense of being on the outside, a spectator to your own life. Bored and slightly put off, you get up and walk over to a nearby table laden with fresh fruit and cold water. You grab the bottle and offer it to the players. Oliver takes it, drinks deeply, and hands it back to you without a word of thanks. Then, he does something unexpected. He puts his free arm around you, his thumb and forefingers gently squeezing your shoulder in a friendly hug massage. For a split second, you are spellbound. The warmth of his hand, the unexpected intimacy of the gesture, it takes you completely by surprise. You find yourself yielding to his touch, leaning into it, every nerve in your body suddenly alive. And then, just as quickly, you wrench yourself away. A panicked reaction you don't fully understand. He looks taken aback, his hand dropping from your shoulder. "I didn't mean to hurt you," he says, his voice laced with genuine apology. Did he press a nerve? You feel a desperate need to smooth things over, to erase the awkwardness. "I'm not hurt," you blurt out, though your face betrays the lie. A grimace of pain you can't quite smother. He seems to accept your unconvincing denial, playing along with the charade. "Here, let me make it better," he says, his hand returning to your shoulder, his fingers resuming their gentle massage. "Relax." "But I am relaxing," you insist, though it's far from the truth. "You're stiff as a board," he counters. "You're made of knots." He turns to Marja. "Come here, feel this." Marja steps forward and places her hands on your back. Oliver presses her palm flat against your shoulder blade. "Here, feel it?" He should relax more. "You should relax more," Marja echoes, her touch soft and tentative against your skin. "Maria, ever the mischievous observer adds. She certainly knows how to get him to relax. You force yourself to relax, to let your muscles go slack under their hands until they finally lose interest and return to their game. You retreat to the table under the lime trees, sinking into a chair in the shade, far from the laughter and the effortless energy of the others. Without thinking, you find your own hand rubbing the spot at the base of your neck where his hand had been. A phantom touch that still lingers. Your mother and Mafalda are setting the table for dinner. You hear your mother ask if Oliver will be joining them tonight. You shrug, feigning indifference. Je ne sais pas, you reply in French. Who knows? At dinner, there are 2 empty seats at the table. Oliver's absence is a palpable presence. Mafalda asks if he'll be joining them, noting that it's already past 8. A wave of irritation washes over you. Don't you think it's rude when he says later? You ask your parents, the words tumbling out in a rush of Italian. Arrogant? We do everything to make him feel comfortable here. Your father shakes his head. I don't think so. I think Oliver is shy. That's what he is. You consider this. The idea of the confident, self-assured Oliver being shy. It seems impossible. You watch, you say, a bitter edge to your voice. This is how he'll say goodbye to us when the time comes, with his gruff, slapdash, later. Meanwhile, your mother says with a long-suffering sigh, we'll have to put up with him for 6 long weeks, won't we? But your father is firm. I'm telling you, he's just shy. You'll grow to like him. The thought sparks a rebellious fire in you. Yeah, but what if I grow to hate him? Your mother looks at you with a fond, pitying smile. Mio piccino, my little one. She turns to Mafalda and instructs her to clear Oliver's place setting. You watch, a strange feeling twisting in your gut, as Mafalda swiftly and efficiently removes his plate, his silverware, his glass, his napkin. It's as if he had never existed, erased from the table with a few deft movements. The sudden violence of the act startles you, and you have to fight an involuntary urge to reach out and stop her. After dinner, in the living room, your father asks you to play the piano. Non mi va, you reply sharply. I don't feel like it. Perché non ti va? Why don't you feel like it? Perché non mi va, you snap, your voice tight with an emotion you can't name. Your mother switches to French, her tone gentle but probing. Why not go to Moscazzano with the others? Je n'ai pas envie. I don't want to. Go see your friends. Go out. Do something, she urges. Ne reste pas là comme une araignée sur le mur, mon chéri. Don't just be a spider on the wall, darling. Your teenage cousin, whose voice is just beginning to change, mimics being a spider, waving his arms menacingly at his younger sisters, and they erupt in a burst of laughter. The weight of their cheerful normalcy is too much to bear. You give in. You walk over to the piano and let your fingers find the keys. The lively notes a stark contrast to the turmoil inside you. Later that night, you are lying on your bed, still, fully dressed, caught in a restless half-sleep. You hear a noise outside, and your heart leaps. You quickly strip off your clothes and pull on your pajama bottoms, your body tense with anticipation. But no one comes. There are no footsteps on the stairs, no sounds from the adjoining bathroom. The house is silent. The night stretches on, empty and still. You wake to a single ray of dawn sunlight hitting your face. The house is still quiet. You get out of bed and walk to the door that separates your room from his. Your hand hovers over the doorknob, but you can't bring yourself to knock. Instead, you lean in, peering through the cracks in the old wooden door. And there he is, Oliver, asleep in your old bed, still wearing the clothes from the day before. The sight sends a strange pang through your chest, a mixture of resentment and a longing you don't want to acknowledge. Later that afternoon, you're sitting at your usual table under the lime trees, trying to work. Through the open window, Of your father's study, you can see him and Oliver, their heads bent together over a manuscript. It's Oliver's work on Heraclitus. You strain to hear their conversation. I think your insights here are persuasive, but... You hear your father say. Go on. Oliver replies, his voice calm and steady. I'm okay with criticism. You are? Good. I think this needs firming up. Just then, Anchises approaches your table, carrying a large fish wrapped in a t-shirt. He proudly unwraps it for you to see. Sei stato al fiume? You ask, smiling. You've been to the river? He nods, a wide grin on his face, before carrying his prize towards the kitchen. In the study, the conversation continues. I'm okay with firming up, Oliver is saying. I'm okay with paradox. Back to the drawing board. A sudden burst of enthusiastic voices from the kitchen distracts you, the excitement over Anchises' catch drowning out the intellectual debate. Later, the afternoon heat has settled over the garden. You are sitting with your eyes closed, your head resting against the back of your chair. Far across the lawn, Oliver is sitting on the edge of the stone drinking trough, his feet dangling in the cool water. He's reading the manuscript pages they were just discussing. He looks over at you. Are you sleeping? He calls out, his voice loud in the stillness. I was, you murmur to yourself. He gestures with a sheet of paper, beckoning you to come closer. You rise and walk towards him slowly, your eyes drawn to the bright red of his bathing suit. It's a color you haven't seen him wear before. He begins to read aloud from his manuscript, his voice laced with self-deprecation. For the early Greeks, Heidegger contends, this underlying hiddenness is constitutive of the way beings are. He looks up at you, a wry smile on his face. Does this make any sense to you? Not to me, nor to your dad. You feel a small thrill of pleasure that he is asking for your opinion. Maybe it did when you wrote it, you offer. He pretends to weigh your words carefully. That's the kindest thing anyone said to me in months, he says, his voice low and earnest. The sudden shift in tone makes you feel ill at ease. You look away, unsure how to respond. Kind? You echo. Yes, kind, he confirms. Silence settles between you again. You look at him, lying there on the edge of the trough in his red bathing suit, the sun glinting off the water. And then, to your complete surprise, he lets himself fall backwards, disappearing into the water with a splash. You've started to notice a pattern. Oliver seems to have 3 distinct personalities, each corresponding to the color of his swim trunks, which you often see drying on his windowsill. Red is for the bold, ill-tempered Oliver, gruff, snappy, almost dangerous. Yellow is for the good-humored, funny Oliver, the one with a quick wit and a sharp tongue, who doesn't give in easily. But he doesn't wear his green bathing suit very often. Green is for the eager, sunny Oliver, the one who is open and ready to learn, to speak, to engage with the world around him. Today, he emerges from the water of the stone trough wearing the green trunks. Elio, what are you doing? He calls out. You are sitting nearby, a music score open on your lap. Reading my music, you reply. He lies down on a large towel, his books and sun lotion spread around him. No, you're not, you concede, thinking then. About? He presses. Private, you say, a hint of defiance in your voice. Your mother, who is nearby gathering fruit, listens to your exchange, amused. So you won't tell me? Oliver asks. So I won't tell you, you confirm. So he won't tell me, he says, turning to your mother as if for sympathy. In that case, I'm going with your mom. He slips on his espadrilles, takes the basket from her, and follows her towards the orchard. You watch as he climbs a ladder, stretching into the branches to pick the ripest apricots. You find yourself drawn towards them, and you offer to hold the basket as he tosses the sun-warmed fruit down to you and your mother. The house is quiet and deserted on a Saturday afternoon when Oliver returns from town. He's wearing a blue bathing suit and the same billowy blue shirt he wore on the day he arrived. You are on your bed, wearing only your swim trunks, your hand tucked inside them, your body tense with a strange, expectant energy. You are alert to every sound, every footstep. And then, you hear them. Footsteps just outside your door. The door from the bathroom opens, and Oliver enters, shirtless. You quickly pull your bathing suit higher, a jerking, guilty movement, as if you've been caught doing something shameful. "Why aren't you with the others at the river?" he asks. You are speechless, your breath caught in your throat. I have an allergy, you stammer. "Me too," he says, a knowing look in his eyes. "We might have the same one." You just shrug, unable to meet his gaze. A beat of silence hangs between you. "Want to go for a swim?" he asks. "Just the two of us?" "Later, maybe," you manage to say, your voice still breathless. He extends his hand to you. "Let's go now." You take his hand. The contact sends a shockwave through you. You turn onto your side, facing the wall, a desperate attempt to hide the confusion on your face. But in your movement there is also a slight unconscious tug, an invitation that could have pulled him down onto the bed beside you. "Must we?" you ask, your voice a faint whisper. He straightens up, but he doesn't let go of your hand. He looks down at you for a long moment, then pulls, gently but firmly, until you are sitting upright. "I'm going to change," he says, finally, releasing you. "What about you?" He leaves, and you are left alone in the sudden silence of the room. You look down at your hand, the one he was just holding, and then place it back inside your bathing suit. It feels damp, clammy. "Stupid, stupid," you whisper, hitting your forehead with your fist. A wave of defiance washes over you. You strip off your swim trunks and, grabbing a fresh pair, walk naked into the bathroom. As you pull on the new trunks, you catch a glimpse of him in his room, also naked. "See you downstairs," he calls out as he gets dressed. You follow him down the main staircase, and to your surprise, you find Chiara and Marzia waiting in the hallway. Oliver is shirtless, and Chiara playfully grabs the billowy blue shirt he was wearing and tosses it at him. He catches it and drapes it over the head of a bronze bust of your grandmother that sits in the hall. "Enough now," Chiara says, her tone commanding. "We're going to the river, and you're coming." Oliver spots some of your father's papers lying on a chair and begins to gather them. "Let me sort these papers out," he says, "or his father will skin me alive." Chiara moves closer to him. "En parlant de peau," she says in French. "Approche." "Speaking of skin, come here." She gently tries to pull a sliver of peeling skin from his tanned shoulder with her fingernails. You watch them, a knot of envy tightening in your chest. You wish it were your fingers on his skin. She looks at his manuscript lying on the chair. "I could do a better job translating than whoever this is," she shouts so he can hear her from the study. Oliver returns. "Do you type good too?" he asks, a teasing smile on his face. "I type good," she replies, mimicking his American accent. "As good as you speak good?" "Betta," she says, "and I'd give you a better price too." "Stand still." She pulls another small patch of skin from his shoulder. He stands incredibly close to her as she does it. "I need 5 pages translated per day to be ready for pickup every morning," he says, testing her. She looks up at him. "Then I won't do Nguyen for you. Don't move." She finds another piece of skin on his arm and carefully peels it off, dropping the tiny fragments into a nearby plant. "Find Youssef somebody else." Marja grows impatient. "Allons nous baigner." "Let's go swimming." Yeah, come on, you agree, eager to break the charged atmosphere. You hand Oliver his sunglasses and a red edition of Lucretius that was lying on a table. Thanks, buddy, he mumbles, the words meant only for you. There's an intimacy in the simple gesture that you both enjoy and subtly flaunt for Kiara's benefit. In return, she takes Oliver's arm, leading him out the door and leaving you and Marja to follow. As he leaves, he puts on the blue shirt. That night, you all go to a restaurant with an open-air dance floor. The air is warm, the music loud. Kiara is dancing for Oliver, her movements sensual and inviting. He is a good dancer, and he's clearly enjoying himself. You retreat to a table with Marja and a few other friends, but your eyes are glued to the dance floor. You watch as Kiara moves her thighs between his, their bodies close, their movements suggesting an intimacy that goes far beyond dancing. Is he hitting on her? One of your friends asks. Are they doing it then? Another chimes in. Chaniso, you mutter. I don't care, but you do. You watch them and you think you would give anything to be in her shoes. Marja studies your face, her expression knowing. You pretend to be amused, to enjoy watching them together. Then the music changes. Love My Way by the Psychedelic Furs fills the air. Oliver's style of dancing instantly shifts. He becomes more self-obsessed, more introverted. A perfect new wave solo performance. Everyone watches his solo act, a mixture of surprise and amusement on their faces. But you are mesmerized. You can't take your eyes off him. Marja pulls you onto the dance floor, and there's a strange, electric energy between you, a silent exchange of glances. You decide to let go of your embarrassment, to meet the moment, with your own burst of energy. You break into a sharp little solo of your own, and your friends applaud. You see Marja watching you, a smile on her face. Later, you and Marja are at the river. The moon is bright, casting a silver path across the water. You both strip off your clothes and run into the cool water. You're not with me because you're angry with Kiara? She asks in French, her voice soft in the stillness of the night. Why should I be angry with Kiara? You reply, feigning ignorance. Because of him, she says simply. You just shake your head, a puzzled look on your face, hoping she won't press the issue. After you swim, you come ashore. Retourne-toi, she says, toweling herself dry with her sweater. Ne me regarde pas. Turn around. Don't stare at me. You look away while she gets dressed, and then she does the same for you. When you are no longer naked, you take her hand. You kiss the palm, then the soft skin between her fingers, and finally, her mouth. She is slow to kiss you back. Let's meet here tomorrow night, you whisper in French. I'll be here before you. Just don't tell anyone, she replies, her voice barely audible. That same night, you are woken by the sound of Oliver peeing in the adjoining bathroom. The sound is loud, uninhibited, a careless assertion of his presence. You lie in the darkness, listening. Then you get out of bed and walk towards the closed door, your heart pounding in your chest. At breakfast the next morning, you're in an unusually antic mood. As Oliver expertly shears the top off his soft-boiled egg, looking a bit hungover, you make an announcement. We almost did it, you say, a self-mocking tone in your voice. Marja and me. Your father, from behind his newspaper, raises his eyebrows. And why didn't you? Dunno, you shrug. Oliver, with a tone that is half comforting and half mocking, quotes, Better to have tried and failed. You add with a touch of bravado. All I had to do was find the courage to reach out and touch. She would have said yes. Oliver's reply is seemingly offhand, but it lands with a peculiar weight. Try again later. Just then, your mother joins you at the table. Try later, what? She asks, and your father and Oliver share a laugh. Your father changes the subject, turning to Oliver. I just heard from the people in Sirmione, he says. They say they've come up with something. I'm going there today. Would you like to go with me? I'd like that very much, Oliver replies. Can I come too? You ask, a hopeful note in your voice. On condition that you remain silent, your father says, his eyes twinkling. Oliver teases. Silent as in too many opinions on things, or silent as in security, not telling anybody what fabulous things have been dug up. Nothing is being dug up, your father corrects him. It's what has been brought up, out of the water. Oliver looks awed by the prospect. Later, as you're waiting by the car, Chiara arrives on her bike, asking for Oliver. You tell her, in French, that you are all going to Lake Garda, that your father wants to show Oliver the dredging site. She is clearly disappointed. Tell him I came by, she says. You tell her he's inside helping your dad. And then, unable to resist, you add, you were great on the dance floor last night. He dances great, she agrees. And he's great looking, isn't he? You press. She gives you a sharp look. What are you trying to do? Fix us up? She brushes past you and goes into the house. You get into the back seat of the car to wait. A few moments later, Oliver and Chiara emerge from the house. They stand close together, speaking in low tones. She kisses him on the cheek before getting on her bike and riding away. Oliver gets into the front seat of the car. Dad always sits up front with Ankaisi to navigate, you tell him. And he moves to the back next to you. As you watch Chiara, right away you say, she seems to like you a lot. He doesn't respond. You push further. I saw her naked on a night swim. She has a great body. He turns to look at you, his expression unreadable. Are you trying to make me like her? What would be the harm in that? You ask, your bare legs brushing against his for a brief moment in the confines of the back seat. No harm, he replies, his voice cool. Except I like to go at it alone, if you don't mind. A tense silence descends. Just then, your father comes out and tells Ankaisi that he'll drive himself today, giving the handyman the afternoon off. Oliver turns to you, his voice low and pointed. Don't play at being the good host, just don't. Your father gets into the driver's seat and, sensing the tension, turns around. What's going on, boys? Oliver, come sit up front and be my navigator. Oliver gives you a small, triumphant smile, as if to say, see, before moving to the front seat. As your father drives through the countryside, the hot summer air blowing in through the open windows, you sit in the back, silent, your attention drawn to the back of Oliver's neck. You arrive at the magnificent Roman ruins of the Grotta di Catullo, overlooking the shimmering expanse of Lake Garda. Your father explains to Oliver that only a fraction of the area's archaeological treasures have been discovered. A delegation of archaeologists greets you, and you all gather on the small beach below the ruins, where a salvage operation is underway. Your father is shown the arm of a statue, and his face lights up with excitement. You are all taken out to a floating platform in the middle of the lake. A large winch is at its center, with a steel cable disappearing into the water. You watch, your heart pounding with a mixture of your father's excitement and your own, as the cable is slowly pulled back up. A figure begins to emerge from the water. It's a bronze statue of a boxer, naked and powerful, secured by scuba divers. It is missing its left arm, but is otherwise perfectly intact, its beauty still evident despite being encrusted with a century of lake deposits. The statue's enameled eyes seem to stare right at you, as if it has been waiting all this time to be found. There is a palpable sense of excitement on the platform, a shared moment of discovery that transcends time. Back on the beach, the bronze statue has been cleaned and dried. It stands in the late afternoon sun, a magnificent relic of a bygone era. Your father is deep in conversation with the other archaeologists, analyzing the find. "Dad, why are we only finding him now?" you ask. "A good question," he replies. "His partner, they're a pair, is in the Vatican. There are 4 known sets after the Praxiteles originals. This fellow is number 3. He tells you about another pair that was melted down by a pope and recast as a Venus. I guess they didn't need 2 pairs, Oliver remarks wryly. As the sun begins to set, casting a golden glow on the ancient athlete, your father suggests a swim. You all swim in a small cove not far from the salvage rig, the water reflecting the cloud-streaked sky. The moon is beginning to rise, a pale sliver in the twilight. That same moon shines down on the river back home, where Marzia waits for you, as you promised she would. She looks at her watch, the minutes ticking by in the quiet darkness. When you finally return to the villa, you jump out of the car, grab your bike, and wheel it out onto the road. "I have to go!" you call out to your father and Oliver, a passionate haste in your voice. They both smile at your youthful urgency. You ride as fast as you can to the river, your heart pounding, but when you arrive, the spot is empty. You call her name, but the only reply is the soft lapping of waves on the shore. The moon is brighter now, higher in the sky. You are too late. The following day, a thunderstorm rolls in, dashing the garden with heavy rain. You are sitting on the couch in the living room with your parents, the lights flickering, when your mother asks if anyone has seen her copy of the Heptameron. She finds it and begins to read aloud, translating from the German edition. A handsome young knight is madly in love with a princess. She too is in love with him, though she seems not to be entirely aware of it. She continues the story of the knight, who is so humbled by his love that he cannot bring himself to speak of it. Finally, he asks the princess point blank, "Is it better to speak, or die?" At that exact moment, the lights go out completely, plunging the room into darkness. Still thinking about the knight's dilemma, you say, "I'd never have the courage to ask such a question." Your father's voice comes from the darkness, calm and knowing. "We were your age once. The things you feel and think only you have felt, believe me, we've suffered through all of them, and more than once." Your mother agrees, her voice a soft murmur. She encourages you to make new friends, to stop hiding in books and music scores, to go dancing with Chiara and Marja. "Get to know people," she urges. The rain beats against the windows as she spreads an afghan over the 3 of you. Just then, the lights flicker back on. She runs her fingers through your hair tenderly. "Fai anche se devi," she says. "Do crazy things if you must." The next day, after the storm has passed, the house is quiet. It's the hour of siesta, and Oliver's bike is missing. You wander through the empty rooms, a restless energy coursing through you. You go upstairs, moving quietly along the corridor. You share with him. You approach his door like a detective searching for clues, your hand hovering over the knob. Suddenly, you hear someone coming up the back stairs. You quickly open your own door instead and slip inside. Mafalda appears in the corridor, carrying a pile of clean laundry. She opens Oliver's door without knocking and places his folded shorts, socks, and shirts on his dresser. Then, she knocks on your door. You call out, "Avanti!" and she enters, placing your own clean clothes on a chair. You are lying on your bed, pretending to read, until you hear her footsteps retreating down the hall. When you are sure she is gone, you move stealthily through the shared bathroom and into his room. The space is filled with his scent, a mixture of soap, sweat, and something uniquely him. You go to the pile of clean laundry on his dresser and let your fingertips brush over his folded boxer shorts. Then, you go to his closet. Hanging on a hook is the red bathing suit. You take it down. It's dry. You bring it to your face, burying your nose in the fabric, inhaling deeply. You rub your face against it, smelling it, kissing it. even licking the inside of the supporter. A desperate, almost feral attempt to find some taste of him, some tangible piece of his presence. In a rush of impulse, you slip out of your own bathing suit and pull on his. You get into his unmade bed, pulling the pillow over your face, kissing it savagely, wrapping your legs around it, searching for his scent in the soft cotton. Suddenly, you hear the sound of a bicycle approaching. You scramble to the window and see him leaving his bike by the wall and heading into the villa. Panicked, you quickly take off his trunks, tidy the bed, and flee back to your own room. You run to the window at the end of the corridor, looking down into the garden, but he's not there. Then he appears, walking towards the stone trough. You race down the stairs to meet him. You find him sitting on the edge of the trough, his feet in the water, wearing his straw hat. You sit under the trees, your scorebook open on your lap, a prop to hide your churning emotions. You decide to break the silence, to test the waters. My mom's been reading this 16th century French. Romance, you begin, your voice carefully casual. About the knight who doesn't know whether to speak or die. You told me already, he says, not looking at you. Yes, you confirm. Well, does he or doesn't he? He asks, a hint of impatience in his voice. Better to speak, she said. You tell him. But she's on her guard. She senses a trap somewhere. So does he speak? He presses. No, he fudges. That figures, he says, then changes the subject. Listen, I need to pick up something in town. I'll go if you want me to, you offer immediately. He pauses. Let's go together. Now? You ask, your heart leaping. Why, have you got anything better to do? No, you admit. He gathers his things, and you close your scorebook, knocking over a glass of lemonade in your haste. He comes over, picks up the unbroken glass, and places it back on the table. You didn't have to, you say, flustered. He pauses for a moment, his gaze steady on yours. I wanted to, he says, and the simple words are filled with a meaning that makes your breath catch in your throat. On the way to get your bikes, Enkaisi hands Oliver his, a wry smile on his face. He explains in a mixture of Italian and English that he has straightened the wheel and put air in the tires. Grazie, Oliver replies with a genuine smile. As you reach the road, he pulls up his shirt, revealing a large scrape on his hip. I fell the other day, he explains, and Kais insisted on applying some sort of witch's brew. You lean in to examine the wound, which is smeared with a dark ointment. Does he give you the creeps? You ask, echoing your aunt's sentiments about the handyman. Who? Ankaise? He asks, pulling his shirt back down. Of course not. Just a lost soul, really, like most of us. In the town square, Oliver buys a pack of Gauloise's cigarettes and lights one, offering one to you. You accept, and he cups his hands around yours to light it, his face very close to yours. You walk your bikes to the World War I memorial in the center of the square, dedicated to the young men of the town who died in the Battle of Piave. Is there anything you don't know? He asks, impressed by your knowledge of local history. You look at him, the cigarette smoke swirling around you, and the words just tumble out. I know nothing, Oliver. Nothing. Just nothing. He looks at you, his gaze steady. You know more than anyone around here. If you only knew how little I know, you reply, your voice thick with emotion, about the things that really matter. What things that matter? He asks, his voice soft. You meet his gaze, summoning all your courage. You know. What things, you say, your voice barely a whisper. By now you, of all people, should know. The silence that follows is heavy, charged with all the things you haven't said. Oliver looks away for a moment, buying time. Are you saying what I think you're saying? He asks finally. Yes, you reply. The single word a release, a confession. Now that it's out, a strange sense of calm settles over you. He looks at you for a long moment, then gestures towards the typist's shop. Wait for me here. Don't go away. You know I'm not going anywhere, you say, a small, knowing smile on your face. He returns a few minutes later, a frown on his face. The typist has mixed up his pages, setting him back a whole day. I wish I hadn't spoken, you say, feeling responsible for his frustration. I'm going to pretend you never did, he replies, but you are unfazed. Does this mean we're on speaking terms? But not really? You ask. He thinks for a moment. Look, we can't talk about such things. We really can't, he says. And with that, you are on your bikes, heading back down the hill. But now that you've laid your cards on the table, the world seems brighter, the scenery more vibrant. You ride together on the empty country road, the sun warm on your skin. You turn off the main road and lead him to a secret spot you know. A series of spring water ponds surrounded by willow trees. This is my spot, you tell him. All mine. I come here to read. He puts his hands in the water. It's freezing cold, he exclaims. You explain that the water comes straight down from the mountains. You sit on the grass, and he crouches a few feet away, as if ready to bolt at any moment. For the first time, you dare to meet his gaze, and hold it. A silent challenge passing between you. You're making things very difficult for me, he says, his voice low. He lies down on the grass, his arms under his head. I'm not going to pretend this hasn't crossed my mind, he admits. He moves closer to you, so close you can feel the warmth of his body. He stares into your face, his gaze lingering on your lips. He touches your lower lip with his finger, a feather-light caress that makes your breath catch. And then, he brings his lips to yours. The kiss is warm, gentle, a tentative meeting of mouths. But your return kiss is famished, desperate, and you lose yourself in it completely. Better now? He asks when you finally break apart. You can't speak. You just kiss him again, a deeper, more searching kiss. Your bodies are still angled apart, but you lift one knee, a silent invitation to close the distance between you. I think we should go, he says, his voice strained. Not yet, you plead. We can't do this, he insists. I know, myself. So far we've behaved. We've been good. Let's keep it that way. Don't be, you whisper, a desperate boldness taking over. I don't care. Who is to know? You reach for him, your hand coming to rest on his crotch. He doesn't move for a moment. Then, with a gesture that is both gentle and commanding, he places his own hand over yours, twines his fingers with yours, and lifts your hand away. Did I offend you? You ask, suddenly abashed. Just don't, he says, helping you to your feet. As you ride back to the villa, you say, We'll never speak again, you know. Don't say that, he replies. I just know it. We'll chit-chat, chit-chat, chit-chat. At lunch, you are joined by a pompous English art historian couple. You and Oliver can barely contain your laughter at their pretentious conversation, and your father shoots you a warning glance. As Mafalda clears the plates, you feel a warm, bare foot brush against yours under the table. It's him. You freeze, thrilled, waiting a few moments before withdrawing your foot so as not to seem panicked. A few seconds later, your own foot begins to seek his out, and you bump against him. Without warning, his foot moves onto yours, beginning a soft, gentle caress, rubbing the arch of your foot with the smooth ball of his heel. The secret, intimate touch is a return to the closeness you shared by the ponds, a silent conversation, just between the two of you. You become giddy, lightheaded. As Mafalda serves you ice cream, you notice red spots appearing on the creamy dessert. It takes you a moment to realize the blood is coming from your nose. Ghiaccio, ice. Mafalda. Per favore, presto, you exclaim, covering your nose with your napkin as you excuse yourself from the table. You rush to the kitchen, but the freezer is empty. You end up in the small, cramped bar next to the living room, sitting on the floor with your head tilted, back, a napkin full of ice and blood pressed to your nose. Elio, where are you? You hear Oliver call from the hallway. You wave, and he comes over, a concerned look on his face. Was it my fault? He asks, his voice low. You just smile ruefully. Sit for a second, you say, making room for him in the tight space. He sits, and your bare feet touch his ankles for a moment. He takes your feet in his hands and begins to massage them, pulling on your toes until they crack. You cry out in a mixture of pleasure and pain. Where did you learn to do that? You ask. My Jewish grandmother, he replies. Your eyes are drawn again to the Star of David on his chest. I have one of those, you say. You don't ever wear it. My mother says we are Jews of discretion, you explain. He gives a final tug to your big toe and gets up. I hope not, he says, in response to some unspoken fear, then helps you to your feet. Lie on the couch, rest a little. I'll stick around. In the living room, Chiara and Marcia burst in. Chiara lights a cigarette and holds the glowing end close to the sole of your bare foot. You pull it back fast. You felt that? She teases. In French. You have peasant feet. Leave him alone, Marcia says, caressing your hair softly. Later, after they've gone, you make yourself a smoothie in the kitchen, and then go out to the garden to sit with your mother. You like him, don't you? Oliver? She asks, her gaze knowing. Everyone likes Oliver, you reply evasively. He likes you too, she says. More than you do, I think. Is that your impression? You ask. No, she replies, her eyes twinkling. It was Oliver's. The words hang in the air, a revelation that leaves you breathless. That night, you wait for him, but he doesn't return. You hear him finally come in late, walk past your door without hesitating, and go into his own room. A few moments later, you hear the click of a lock, the door from the bathroom into your room. He has locked you out. Traitor, you whisper into the darkness. On the bus, Oliver dozes off, his head resting on your shoulder. You look at his sleeping face, a wave of emotion so powerful it almost knocks the breath from your lungs. You are heading into the mountains, into a world that belongs only to the two of you. In a forest of beech and fir trees, you hike to a magnificent waterfall that leaps 3 times down the side of a mountain. Oliver howls with a purely American brand of joy at the sight, and you both run into the spray, laughing. That night, in a hotel room in Bergamo, you are both drunk and giddy with freedom. In a deserted alley, he pushes you against a wall and kisses you. A desperate, hungry kiss. He hears the faint melody of Love My Way and pulls you through the streets until you find a group of new romantics listening to the song on a radio. He starts to dance, and at the song's climax, you suddenly and violently throw up. He holds your forehead as you're sick, and then, under the pale light of dawn, he kisses you again. It is the kiss of a lifetime. A kiss that holds all the love and all the sorrow of your fleeting time together. The next morning, you stand on a train platform. It's time. The moments stretch on, cruel and suspended. You try to delay the inevitable, but the train is waiting. He sings the lyrics to the song that has become yours, his voice a sweet, sad whisper. Swallow all your tears, my love, and put on your new face. You hug, a final desperate embrace, and then he is gone, the train. Pulling away, disappearing into the distance, you sit on a bench, wiped out, your world suddenly empty. You call your mother. Maman, you say, your voice breaking. S'il te plaît, tu pourrais venir me chercher? Mom, please, could you come pick me up? In the car on the way home, you finally let the tears come, and she caresses your cheek, a silent gesture of comfort and understanding. Months later, the villa is blanketed in the quiet gray of winter. You are home for the holidays. The phone rings and you run to answer it, your heart leaping with a sudden, impossible hope. It's him. His voice is a ghost from another life, another world. He tells you he has news. He might be getting married in the spring. The world tilts on its axis. You hand the phone to your parents and then take it back when they are done. You lower your voice. Elio. Elio, you say, a desperate, daring whisper. There is a long pause on the other end of the line. And then, his voice, thick with a memory you both share, replies, Oliver. I remember everything. You crouch in front of the fire in the dining room, the flames dancing in your eyes. You stare into the fire, lost in thought, the sounds of your family around you fading into the background. You are back in that summer, back in his arms, back in a world where you were both, for a brief, perfect moment, infinite. The next morning at breakfast, you pretend to ignore him. He looks pale, with dark circles under his eyes. Your father comments on it, and Oliver admits to being out late, drinking, and other things. Your father launches into a philosophical musing about traviamento, taking a different turn in life. Sometimes the traviamento turns out to be the right way, Oliver counters, or as good a way as any. I know myself. Later, you find him on the lawn, working. You kick a volleyball, and it hits him, breaking the silence. I waited for you last night, you say, your voice peevish despite yourself. He just throws the ball back at you. You tell him you were hoping you could go into town together, like the other day. He looks at you then, really looks at you. Do you like me that much, Elio? The question breaks through your defenses. Do I like you? You repeat, the words a torrent. Do I like you, Oliver? I worship you. His face softens. He is touched. I'll go with you, he says, but no speeches. No speeches. Not a word. You promise. In town, you give him a book you've bought for him, inscribed with a line of poetry, zwischen immer und nie. For you in silence, somewhere in Italy in the mid-'80s. That night, you go out with Marja. You walk through the quiet streets, and she confronts you. People who read are hiders, she says in French. They hide who they are. People who hide don't always like who they are. She tells you that you scare her because you're always changing your mind. You kiss her, and in a dimly lit courtyard, she slips her hand into your trousers. Comme tu es dur, she whispers, surprised. You're so hard. Later, by the river, you make love on the grass. In the pre-dawn hours, you sit at your desk, naked, trying to write a note to Oliver. You crumple up attempt after attempt, until you finally settle on, can't stand the silence. I need to speak to you. You slip the note under his door. When you enter your room later that morning, you find the note on your desk. He has written a reply. Grow up. I'll see you at midnight. You feel weak-kneed, your heart pounding. You kiss the slip of paper. You look at your watch. It's only 10:30 a.m. The hours until midnight stretch before you, an eternity of waiting. The day crawls by in a haze of anticipation. At lunch, you can't help but glance at your watch, trying to hide the gesture from Oliver. He teases you, reaching for your wrist to see the time, but you pull away and run upstairs. Later, Marja arrives, and you end up in the attic, on an old mattress, the afternoon light streaming in through the slatted shutters. You place your watch on a bedside table where you can see it. 4:29. That evening, your parents have guests. For dinner, a gay couple you and your mother have nicknamed Laurel and Hardy. Your father insists you wear the billowy Hawaiian shirt they gave you for your birthday. You play the piano for them, and as you are finishing your final piece, Oliver comes in from outside, making his way to the stairs. His sudden appearance sends a jolt of electricity through you, adding a fiery intensity to the final notes. You excuse yourself, shake hands with the guests, and run upstairs. The clock shows almost 11. You sit at your desk, waiting. The house grows quiet. Your watch says 11:45. You pace your room, you listen at the door, you stare at your reflection in the mirror. Midnight. You hear nothing. You run a tap in the bathroom, a desperate signal. Finally, you run out to the balcony above the main entrance, and there he is, smoking a cigarette in the darkness. "I'm glad you came," he says. "I thought you were getting ready to go to bed, had changed your mind." "Change my mind?" you reply. "Of course I was coming." You both admit to being nervous. In his room, you sit on his bed, cross-legged, facing each other. The silence is thick with unspoken words. You slide up to rest your back against the headboard, and he stretches his legs out, his bare feet next to yours. You touch his toes with yours. He doesn't respond. You move closer and hug him, a childlike embrace. He brings his arm around you, and you seek the skin under his shirt. "Can I kiss you?" he asks, and then runs his fingers through your hair. You bring your mouth to his in a fiercely eager kiss, and all the barriers between you seem to dissolve. You get under the covers, and he undresses you, whispering, off and off and off, until you are naked before him. He moves his hands over your body, an exploration that is both tender and hungry. When he pulls back the sheet, you feel no shame, only a profound sense of rightness. No secrets. He kisses your body, your lips, his touch a revelation. He is naked too, and every part of you is touching him. You look into his eyes, and in their depths, you see a reflection of your own love, your own expectation. You know, in that moment, that there is no coming back from this. When he enters you, there is a flicker of pain, and you flinch. "You're okay?" he asks, his voice a low whisper. An eternity seems to pass as you surrender to the feeling, to him. Your bodies are entangled, moving in a rhythm that is both strange and deeply familiar. You are flushed, breathless, alternating between soft obscenities and his name. His face is implacable, his lips repeating what you say, until he leans in close and whispers the words that will change everything. "Call me by your name and I'll call you by mine." And so you do. You murmur your own name as if it were his. Elio. 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 Are the sound a prayer, a mantra, a declaration of a love that transcends identity. His Star of David bounces on his chest, a silver pendulum marking the time of this new shared universe. When he comes, it's with a cry of surrender, his release a warm shock against your skin. He spreads the semen over your stomach and chest with the palm of his hand, then cleans you with his billowy blue shirt. "You wore that shirt on your first day here," you say, your voice sleepy. "Will you let me have it? Leave it here when you go?" He doesn't answer. He just takes you in his arms and holds you as you fall asleep. You wake at dawn to find him still holding you, his eyes open, studying your face. "You're not happy," he says, his voice laced with concern. "You're feeling sick about it, aren't you?" You shrug, not wanting him to see the turmoil in your heart. You go for a swim, but even in the vastness of the river, the space between you feels immense. Back in your room, He follows you in, shuts the door, and tells you to take your trunks off. Before you can process what is happening, he brings his mouth to you. At breakfast, his foot finds yours under the table, a secret message of intimacy. He announces he has to go to town, and you follow him, the dull ache in your body a reminder of the night before. You find him in the Piazza Duomo. "I just had to see you," you say. "Do you have any idea how glad I am we slept together?" He replies, his voice earnest. "I don't want you to regret any of it. I just dread the thought of having messed you up." "I'd kiss you if I could," he says, his eyes full of a longing that mirrors your own. Later that afternoon, you are in the attic, the memory of Marja still lingering in the air. You pick up a peach, its fuzzy skin soft against your palm. You push out the pit and press the parted fruit to your groin, a strange, solitary exploration. You are startled from a doze by Oliver's voice. "I was looking everywhere for you," he says, sitting next to you on the mattress. He sees the broken peach. "Is this what I think it is?" he asks, a playful glint in his eye. You nod, ashamed. "I'm sick, aren't I?" "I wish everyone were as sick as you," he says, then dips his finger into the core of the fruit and brings it to his mouth. "Don't," you cry out, but he ignores you. "I wanted you from day one," he confesses, his voice suddenly serious. "I just hid it better." You burst into tears and he holds you close. "Whatever happens between us, Elio," he whispers, "don't ever say you didn't know." The next day, you find his blue shirt, cleaned and pressed by Mafalda, with a note attached. "For Oliver, from Elio." You put it on. It feels like a second skin. At breakfast, you expertly crack his egg for him, a small protective gesture that doesn't go unnoticed by your father. Marja finds you later, her eyes full of hurt. "Am I your girl?" she asks. You can't answer. She leaves, and you are left with the bitter taste of your own cruelty. Later, by the pool, your father announces that Oliver has to go to Bergamo for a few days before he flies home. Your mother suggests you go with him. The two of you say goodbye to your parents at the bus station. As the coach pulls away, you watch your family, and Chiara, grow smaller in the distance.